Hi, this is Matthew again to do another Rolling Stones review of one of their albums. We'll go to 1968 for Beggars Banquet, and I will touch on the compilation after it, just because there's going to be a gap in between albums for a bit of time on historically speaking. Beggars Banquet came out in 1968, kind of near the end of the year, kind of. It is the last time Brian Jones plays on an album. The last one he was alive that was made. He unfortunately drowned in his pool the next year somehow. Not sure, drugs or what, but some people have said there were suspicious circumstances, but I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know much about any of that. He did die. Drugs, I'm sure, were a huge factor. But he will be gone by the next album. He did 2 tracks have him on there, though. But yeah, he will be out of the picture, sadly. He was being very unreliable anyway. He'd come in and he'd play and he wouldn't, and he'd bring instruments that they weren't even needing to play, were irrelevant to what they were recording, but they used him on some things, but he just has some cool stuff that he does do when he was able to really focus on it. Keith Richards did a lot of the work that he would have done normally. All doing a good job regardless, in my opinion. They all did a great album. This is where they really come into their own. Mick Jagger, all of them come into their own, really totally different sound. New producer entirely by the name of Jimmy Miller, who was a drummer, and you can tell. Charlie Watts' drums are ridiculous. They are so in the mix, and just everything is just, the guitarists have rhythm. Mick Jagger's got rhythm in his voice. It's like a giant, almost musical drum at times. I don't know how to explain that. There's some really neat stuff going on in this thing. It's my favorite so far of all the ones I've heard right now. That will probably change as I go further, but I really like this one. So many neat sounds and different things. There's blues, there's country, there's rock, it's really cool. You did hear it, but I'll go through the tracks here. Also, as an interesting note, there was a mastering error in the tapes where for 30 plus years this thing was played at a slower speed than it should have been. In 2002 they reissued it and they fixed it, so it's a little bit shorter because they've corrected the speed. That I had no idea that was a problem, but if you haven't heard it in a long time, maybe you've heard your vinyl lately, go find a digital or a CD version of it, and you'll hear a slight speed increase.
To have both
apparently,
sides
I've never heard of vinyl.
It is
of it.
one computer,
and I've heard stuff on the hits collections. I've never noticed it being wrong.
to pull up.
And I've got a cassette version of one collection. I'd never noticed, but there's just a slight speed difference that could totally change even the idea of a song, because it's slightly slower than it should be. But it's not been fixed. So if you streamed it, you're not going to have that issue coming along. But that's an important thing to fix. I've noticed that even on some radio programs, they fixed that. And things they bastard the tape speed wrong when they recorded it, the master, and oops, it's supposed to be this fast. Just slightly wrong, but that's now been fixed, which is fantastic. Of course, everything's written by Jagger and Richards. There's one blues cover that's on here. We opened side 1 with the absolutely fantastic Sympathy for the Devil. That is a great opener. Most people might know it as the Woo Woo song. Sympathy for the Devil.
Yeah, and that's
it's a great track.
Next Tuesday.
Yeah, very different style. Boy, that kicks out. You think, this is a new album. What's this? Yeah, it's a great song. And then we have
3 days.
No Expectations, also great. And then Dear Doctor. Then Parachute Woman. These are all neat stuff on all these tracks. Jigsaw Puzzle. Brian Jones plays a mellotron here. That's kind of cool. I like mellotrons. And then we have that is side 2 or side 1. Sorry. Now we go to side 2. And be opened with the amazing Straight Fighting Man. Yes, that opens at the first side, and there's a sitar by Brian Jones here in the back. It's in the back, and you can hear it, but it's still in the background. It's the kind of droney thing that's going on. in places.
It's just for
Great stuff. Great track. Drums are very interfaced for a lot of
you
it.
doing it this way
Just
or see how she does.
everyone's just doing a great job on like the whole album. Just they've really come into their own. They've really matured. They kind of we know what we're doing. We're doing this now. We've done psychedelic stuff. We're moving on. Stuff's happening in the world. We need to address it or at least change what we're doing. Then we jump to Prodigal Son, which is the
Yeah, definitely.
blues cover.
Yeah, 'cause I mean,
Incorrectly, I guess, was credited to them, and then they fixed it. I don't know if they had court things, or if someone just like, that's not their song. You need to fix that name. It's been fixed now, but initially it was credited to them, and it's not their song at all. So, not good for the people that were responsible with making that song happen. So, now they've been fixed.
yeah, definitely.
Then the great Stray Cat Blues,
That's one of those
which is really good.
she's not from this area, so she was worried about what
Yeah, there's some really cool stuff there. Excellent
It's
stuff.
going to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. And, so
And then
she's not gonna be the only one.
Factory Girl, which is it's like this real country thing
Mention just something.
going on. It's really cool. In fact, the
Say a word
two
weird,
tracks
we just-
before that
we
on
just- and you just
Particle
keep
Sun, that's a really cool sounding tune.
Formerly.
I don't know who's singing that, if it's Keith Richards or who's singing that, but I don't think it's Mick, but really good.
Yeah.
Really nice
so we can mess with
rhythmic-y
that.
guitar going on there. And same with the Factory Girl.
See how it goes. Just do it.
You know, so it's like a really kind of folky country thing that you'd hear on some other unrelated album. But it works. I don't know why. It just works really well. And then it closes with Salt of the Earth, which is also really good. That was really catchy.
Yep. Yeah. And any ideas you have, let me know.
Yeah, of course, there's some other different drums on here from there's a tub from India. There's some African drums on this album that Charlie Watts plays. Yeah, it's if you want cool different things, this is the album for you. It's really good. As I said, it's my favorite right now. That will probably change as I go along through the catalog, but I really like this one. This is an excellent one. I see why people
Disability the way
have rated it so highly and why it's everywhere on like best albums they did or like top 100 albums ever or whatever. It's on those kinds of lists. And I get it because it's really good. It's so good. Go check it out if you haven't heard it. Even if you start here, that's fine. Like, just do it. It'll be fine. We have Mick Jagger is doing lead vocals on all the tracks. All tracks. And a hand drum and backing vocals. And backing vocals and harmonica and maracas. So that is him on that other blues cover then. It doesn't sound like him, but it is. Yeah, so Mick's a busy guy here. They all are busy playing various things. As you'll see in just a minute. Keith Richards, electric guitars and acoustic guitars and electric slide guitar.
Like I said, we can do whatever we need to.
And bass guitar and backing vocals and opening lead vocals. Oh, he must be on that blues track, I'm sorry. Maybe that's him. Either way. And then Bill Wyman. Brian Jones, sorry. Acoustic and slide guitar, acoustic guitar, harmonica, a mellotron, sitar, and tambora, and backing vocals. When he was with it, he was very busy. But again, erratic, unfortunately. Last time that he will be in the studio pretty much, except for those two other tracks on that hits collection we'll get to in a moment. Well, Someone Let It Bleed, too. And then Bill Wyman. Bass guitar, double bass, backing vocals, and Shakir. I'm not sure what that instrument is, but he plays that too. Yeah, not a bass everywhere, but he does do bass mostly. But again, Keith played a little bit of bass too. So they're all getting on the multi-instrument game, which is kind of cool. Lots of overdubs. This definitely has more tracks. They're probably using 8 tracks by now. At least it sounds like 8 tracks to me. It's not like just 4 like it's been before. But there's a lot more tracks, a lot more happening sound-wise and overdubbing and great stuff going on. And then Charlie Watts, drums, and claves and tambourine and the tabla, backing vocals. Then we have some additional guys again. And Nicky Hopkins is back on piano. And mellotron and and a Farfisa organ, whatever that is. I'm not sure what kind of organ that is. I'm not familiar with that organ type. Rocky says Zornu, congas, and cowbell. I'm not sure who he is. Session guys, I guess. Rick Retch is on the fiddle on Factory Girl. That's his fiddle playing. Excellent fiddle playing. I was wondering who that was. Yeah, he's very good. I don't know what who he played for. That is some good fiddling on that. If you like good fiddles, that's a nice job there on fiddle for that guy. Dave Mason, the Chennai. Again, it was Indian instruments. Is that Dave Mason from Traffic? Does anyone know? Is that the same Dave Mason that was in Traffic later? Or, well, right around this time period, actually? Surely, I don't know. Yeah, he has a link, but I don't know if that's him or not. I don't feel like clicking that right now. Michael Cooper and Marianne Faithfull and Marianne Pallenberg on backing vocals. So Marianne Faithfull's still kind of around. I think Mick was still with her then, or something. I'm not quite sure if he was still with her. She was a friend of theirs. I don't know. I thought they were involved at some point. Maybe that's when this says. I don't know. But those three on backing. The Watt Street Gospel Choir is backing vocals on the very last track. There's a choir, and that's this choir. A good job. Nice unit there. Very fine seamless photography for the cover. And that's all we have for personnel. A lot of people on that. Yeah, just really good. I can't say enough good things about this album. This is the best one so far to me right now. It will probably change. Heck, maybe by Let It Bleed again, which follows this. That may be my favorite again. We'll see as time goes. But in 1969, before Let It Bleed, we had a gap here. There was going to be a tour. They needed something out. They didn't, and they also had 2 new songs that weren't on anything, which honestly should have been, but whatever. They could have put them on this one or the one after, but they didn't. A single only because it's UK, and they didn't do that much. So they had to put something out. So they got a compilation together. Again, unfortunately, there are 2 versions of this. Ugh. We're back to multiple albums again, but that's fine. We'll go through them. It is Through the Past Darkly, Big Hits Volume 2. So it's a companion to the Big Hits High Tides of Green Grass thing. It's the companion to it. So we start with the UK version and the US version. They are both streamable. You can hear both, which I played a couple tracks from each just because they were different. And I hadn't heard them yet, and I wanted to hear them because I'd heard them before, of course, but they weren't on anything else. So if you lived here, you got one version. You lived in the UK, you got another. If you could swing it, I would have tried to have gotten both at the time somehow. Now with playlist, what I would do is just add. I would take, honestly, since everything else in the UK was before and one other track is on another album we had here, I would take the 2 tracks that were not from the psychedelic period and throw them on the end of the other. Or something. And we'll get to that. And also things that should have been on the psychedelic album. There's Satanic Majesty's requests are here, but they should have been on the other and would have made it a stronger album, but we'll get that in just a moment. For the Past Darkly, we have the British edition, the UK edition. Side 1 has Jumpin' Jack Flash. That was a new song that, again, I wish had been on either this or the next album, but it is not. It is here only because they came out after, so... Because we're in 1969 now, so if I could have stuck them on Let It Bleed, that would have been great. Because you could have just filled out 2 more tracks. But that's just me thinking as a music person and the way the Beatles labels did things for Capitol. Here they would do this kind of nonsense, but it works sometimes and not others. But the Stones always seems to work well. Like the albums, both countries run really, really well. A lot of times I like the US versions better. But they both have their interesting things. Then we have Mother's Little Helper, which they had not gotten previously, but on an album, which they now have, because it was a single. 2000 Light Years from Home off the last album, off of Satanic. Let's Spend the Night Together. Let's Spend the Night Together, which they had also not gotten besides a single. Now it's on an album. So if you're in the UK, if you wanted these tracks, you've got them on something now that is not as 45 that you have to worry about misplacing or getting into some other album that you didn't want it in or something, if you got stuff mixed up somehow, or your friend was willing to go through your stuff and playing stuff and where'd it go? Oh no, why'd he put it in there? Yeah. And then You Better Move On, which was from their first album, but it gets put here. I don't know that they had it any other way. We Love You, again, which we don't have, but they do, which I wish we had that on something, but at least you have it in the UK as a single in this configuration. Great song, where actually the Beatles are in backing vocals, as I had said on the last review, I believe. But it's here, if you want to, of course you can play both versions streaming, so you can make your own album if you want. You can take both of these albums and make them into one, which I don't have the patience for, but hey, if someone does, great. You put it as a playlist and on Apple Music where I use things here and use it. I'm using Wikipedia, of course, again for these listings and where I got some background. Oh, it's the edited version. Interesting. Okay. It sounded the same to me, but I've only ever heard it on a singles compilation, so that's probably why. And it's not on the main album, so yeah. And then side 2, we get Street Fighting Man. So you get something off the last album. If you were missing, maybe you didn't get the album, at least you got a couple of things from it. And then She's a Rainbow, which is, again, excellent from the last album. And Ruby Tuesday now gets on something. So yeah, if you wanted Ruby Tuesday, you've got it now here. If you were missing that for whatever reason, since we got it on the album, they didn't in the UK, so you've got it here. Dandelion, which I think must back. She's We Love You, because it wasn't on the other album. It should have been. If they would have put Dandelion and We Love You on Satanic, Majesty's Request, I think it would have made the album better. We made it a little stronger. I don't know why they really should have done that, honestly. That would have made it a much easier listen in a way, but they didn't do that. But if you're in the UK, you got them here. We did not get We Love You. We get the others, but and we don't get one other one. I didn't think it was edited. I do like Dandelions a lot. It's a catchy song. Go listen to it. It's a nice one. We Love You is cool too, but this is a nice catchy one. Gosh, if it had been plugged right, it could have been a single in my opinion. In '67, probably should have. I'm guessing it backed We Love You. I don't know for sure what backed it, but boy, it's a good song all by itself. I really enjoyed Dandelions. Sitting on a Fence, which we had gotten previously, they had not. That rounds their version out. Yeah, because it only been on Flowers, but now it's here. If you were missing it and you couldn't get Flowers, or just it was too expensive to get Flowers from over here, you could have gotten at least that track from it. And then Honky Tonk Women, Honky Tonk Women, yes, that great song is here. It had not been out before, so why they didn't put, I wish we could have done a Capitol thing and put that one and Jumpin' Jack Flash onto Let It Bleed. I think they might have worked. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but they were standard, so we didn't do that again. And then we go to our edition here in the U.S. So that's the British one. That's how their 10 songs went. Ours was the following. We opened with Paint It Black from Aftermath, but still in mono, ugh. So it's Mother's Little Helper is also still in mono. No stereo version yet. Ruby Tuesday. She's a Rainbow. Jumpin' Jack Flash, which we now have. That was included for us. Mother's Little Helper, again, was included because that was from Flowers. Let's spend the night together. So if you'd missed Flowers and you wanted some of the newer tracks you didn't have, then you've got them here. So, or maybe you couldn't find Flowers, or you just didn't know Flowers came out, or whatever, or you just didn't want it. You've got it here. If I'll wait for another hits collection. So if you had missed it, you've got it here. So, and then we go to site 2. Honky Tonk Women is on here too. So you got the 2 new songs, which is, I would have bought it for the 2 new songs by itself. Honestly, those songs are so good. I really like Honky Tonk Women a lot. I just like the way that the way it sounds, the way it starts, and I like that cowbell. It just works for me. It always has. Sounds good on the AirPods too, on my phone. Dandelion, which we do have now, that's included. 2000 Light Years from Home was also on here. Have You Seen Your Baby Standing in the Shadow gets included again if you'd missed it on Flowers. Street Fighting Man, and then that is it. Again, No We Love You. You could have put it on here, honestly. Just give us one extra track, and I don't know where to put it. But man, that would have been nice to have had that if you'd missed it. And you could be, hey, vocals, the Beatles are in backing vocals. Cash in with that whole thing. Oh, by the way, the Beatles are on this song. They are backing. Oh well, they didn't do that. I'm glad they were standard, but just some of this stuff like this, if we had just put some extra stuff on and had maybe 1 or 2 more tracks, it could have made something just really even better than it was. But they work for what they are. Check them both out for the differences, and if you want to make your own album, go right ahead, because you can make a super album of everything. You just have, here's the super version of all the different songs that run both versions, and we've got it all in one version now. Let's go check out the personnel, just because we have those 2 new songs. I will go through the personnel here. Mick Jagger lead vocals, percussion, harmonica. Brian Jones guitar, harmonica, the sitar and piano and tambora, mellotron recorder, organ and backing vocals. That's a lot to say. Keith Richards guitar, backing vocals, bass guitar, double bass, piano, tom-tom. Mick Taylor and Honky Tonk Women. He, I believe, replaces Brian Jones. So yeah, if you wanted to hear Mick Taylor doing something, the new guitarist here, he is the slide guitar parts on Honky Tonk Women, which was the big new track then. I think Jammin' Jack Plaster's from 68. I'm not for sure about that, but yeah. But if you wanted the big new song, you wanted to hear the new guitarist, there he is on slide. Unfortunately, Brian Jones was gone. There is a dedication to Brian Jones, I believe, on both versions. I don't know what that says. Does anyone know? Can you comment? I'd like to know what that says. Actually, we'll get to him. We'll get to Let It Bleed next, but he does have a dedication to his passing on the album, like on the sleeve or something, someplace. If anyone can put it in, I'd like to know what it says. Bill Wyman, bass guitar, organ, double bass, backing vocals, and then Charlie Watts, drums, percussion. Additional guys, again, we had Bud Beadle, which is the sax player in Honky Tonk Women. Excellent sax. Good job, sir. Madeline Bell was the backing vocals on Honky Tonk Women. I wondered who the women were on that. It's Madeline Bell. Rocky Dijon was the maracas for Jammin' Jack Flash. He was involved on the last. He was on Let It Bleed too, or on Beggars Banquet too. Steve Gregory was on Honky Tonk Women as a saxophonist. So there's 2 saxes. I thought there were 2. Good sax players. Yeah, good job, guys. Nicky Hopkins, piano on 2000 Light Years from Home, We Love You, and Street Fighting Man. So Nicky Hopkins is still very much involved, as he has been, for most of these albums. Oh, and She's a Rainbow, too, and harpsichord and everything. John Paul Jones was the string arrangement for She's a Rainbow, of course. Oh, Mike Leander was the trumpet arrangements on Have You Seen Your Mother Baby Standing in the Shadow. I don't think that had been listed before. Michael Leander orchestra and trumpets on the same track, Yeah, that is a dense track. There's a lot going on there. Yep, John Lennon was backing vocals on "We Love You." I was correct. Jay Mason was the "Should I" again on those tracks from before. Paul McCartney on backing vocals for "We Love You." Oh, Jimmy Miller, the producers on Jumbo Jack Flash, and the cowbell for Honky Tonk is him. Because again, he was a drummer, and maybe he still is if he's still alive. But he was a drummer, and you could totally tell in his mixes they are very drummer heavy and rhythmic, and I love to hear them. Jack Nitch piano on Libby Tuesday and Ruby the Spend the Night Together and Paint It Black and Any Seen Mother Baby, and Sitting on the Fence was a harpsichord. No, Andrew Golden was their former manager. He was on the Standing in the Shadow song again. Ian Stewart was a piano on Jumbo Jack Flash, so he is still around. Ian Stewart is, not a lot, but he's kind of coming in whenever, I guess. There are some pianos there, so I'm not sure why he didn't stay with the band, but he is at least kind of around still. They don't. I guess they get along with him okay to have him come along and do some tracks here and there, but good job for him. And that is all of them there. I just wanted to make sure, since we had new songs, we didn't miss people being mentioned. But yeah, that was that. If you needed your tide over before the new album later in the year, which I'll get to next, you could get this through the Past Darkly and companion it with your High Tides album. And here you could have gotten Flowers too, some extra bits and pieces, and of course by now you're starting to be able to do like reel-to-reel tapes and things, so you could make your own albums if you really wanted to. It would have taken some time, but you could have made your own, Stones albums out of everything that was out there. If you wanted to make your own albums and hits albums or your favorite songs, you could have started to do that. Of course, there were still regular cassettes too, but reel-to-reel was, I know, pretty popular still at this point and kind of growing in popularity. There were some cassettes. I don't know if blank cassette tapes were around yet. Maybe they were. I know regular ones were since like the early 60s. I'm not sure how, affordable tape recording would have been for a lot of people, but if you had the means and you had a stereo and you had your record player and you could time things right, you could make your own stuff if you wanted to. Oh, I'll make my own version. I don't like, especially if you could have gotten all of the US and UK albums and things, you could have made your own mixes if you had the means, or if you knew people over there that would just give you albums. Maybe you could do an album exchange. I don't know. Yours for theirs, theirs for yours. I don't know, whichever. But of course, now you can just make your own playlists. But yeah, that's those. Beggars Banquet, excellent. I do like this Through the Past Darkly also, especially with the two new songs. I had to go play those, and I had to go play. I played We Love You and Dandelions from the UK one, but I know that Dandelions was here, but I wanted to play the two psychedelic tracks back to back, and why do one and have to go find it on the other when they could just play them off the same album? So I did some track poking around and playing them and getting them to work. I did Jumbo Jack Flash, then I did Honky Tonk Women, then We Love You, then Dandelions. Of course, everything else is the same mixes, stereo where it should have been, mono where it had been on all of them, so no differences between the releases. I checked. Everything seems to be the same versions on both. There's no differences that I can tell by just looking. All seem to be the same mastering and releases, all the same versions. Obviously, Beggars Banquet did have a mono, but again, not available to listen to. Vinyl-wise, yeah, there's been mono versions, but not to stream. No other versions on Apple Music, at least. So, yeah, that is that. We'll move on to Let It Bleed in 1969. Came out on my birthday. I just wasn't born yet. But it did. I wasn't born, of course. That's kind of cool. It came out on my birthday. I wasn't born yet. And then I will talk briefly about the live album after Get Your Yeah-Yeahs out. And that will get us to where I will be gone for a bit on vacation, but in my time posting, I don't know when it will get posted. But then we'll get to where the Rolling Stones got control of all of their catalog. They have their own label. They do whatever they want. They put out what they want. I think it started in 70, I think, with Yeah-Yeahs. I'm not sure. I think it still says ABCO. I don't know what it will say from 71 onwards, but I think it still said ABCO. And it was all material from 69 anyway, from their shows. But I will talk about it. I will probably listen to some of it just to see how it sounds and play my favorite songs and see how they were going live back then, what they were sounding like in 68, 69, probably. I will give the tracks and everything, but Let It Bleed will be the focus. But I will briefly mention it just because it's between the next album. Yeah, especially if you didn't own any live Stones yet. There's a 10-track of that one, and then there is an expanded one. I will look at the expanded version just because it's got more songs. I will check both, and see what they are. But I'm sure the Wikipedia article hopefully will give me both listings. Otherwise, I'm going to have to find the other one. But I will look at that tomorrow when I post it in my time when I review it. But whenever it goes up, hopefully we'll have both track listings that we can look at, because a 10-track album becomes like 23 plus tracks on this anniversary edition that they've got out, which I'm sure is way better than just the 10 tracks. But you really get a feel for what they were doing. There's a lot of covers too they do on that one, and there's other things, current and past work and some other covers, and the way the shows would have been back then. Of course, Beggars Banquet in '68, they did do that Rock and Roll Circus performance, which got shelved forever. Alan Klein put it out in '96. It's been on PBS. That's where I saw it. I think you could stream it. I think it's purchasable. It's like John Lennon and Eric Clapton, a bunch of people besides the Stones. Go check out Rock and Roll Circus. I'm gonna see if it's affordable for digital on Apple TV. I may try to get it. If it's not stupidly expensive, if it's like under $20, I might grab it. It was pretty cool. If you want kind of an oddball way to do a live show, that is it. It's just called Rock and Roll Circus. I forget how it came to be, but that also happened in between all this stuff. It's pretty cool. I'm glad PBS showed it. It wasn't even a pledge drive, I don't think. It was just something they showed here locally through some kind of whatever partnership got it to them. It wasn't a pledge drive. It was the whole thing. There was no interruptions. It's pretty cool. Check that out. Check out, of course, Beggars Banquet, Through the Past Darkly on the music side. But yeah, if you can find Rock and Roll Circus somewhere, go watch it. I don't know if it streams anywhere, but I know it's for purchase for sure. Or heck, I suppose you could even rent it on a digital platform like Apple TV or something. You could probably rent it for like $3 and check it out. Probably on YouTube somewhere. I don't know if any other free places have it. What's that? What is that? I think that's concerts like not Coachella, but it's a similar word. Coachella is a festival, but there is a thing that just does live concerts. I'm spacing on its name. It's a streaming service. It does purely live concerts. It's probably on that. I forget what that's called, but what's the YouTube TV add-on? You might just check places if you want to see this. It's pretty cool, but I thought I would give that a mention just because it did happen in their history along the same Beggars Banquet time frame, and then, of course, Through the Past Darkly after. So no more Brian Jones. We move on to a new era, basically with a new guitarist. Not a new. They still have their old catalog going on, which they don't own. But we'll finish that part up, and then we'll get to where they have full control over their stuff. At least the track listings are the same album-wise now. There's no differences there. Still some single weirdness going on, but other than that, there's easier to deal with. But it is great that all of the other albums do work by themselves. They are good versions to each other, and a lot of times I think our order was better, in my opinion, just because we have the singles, which the British, that was like a no-no back then. But I think that starts to change as we move along. That now that they control their stuff, the singles I think get more, they do get put on. So we will see as time goes, but we will get 69 finished tomorrow. We hit 68, really 69 now, but we will finish up the year, check out that live, and then we'll be in Stones owning their own stuff, doing their own thing, finally, without as much label interference from here on London. I don't know if they keep London. I don't know where all this goes. We'll see. So right now it's Decca and London Records here, Decca there. It'll be interesting to see how the streaming part of it goes, if it still says Abco or if it does go to some other name. I haven't looked, but we will see. That will be next time. But I will see you guys next time in another video.